Gout attacks are no joke. Stop eating these meats now. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a burning pain in your big toe? Or maybe your ankle swelled up for no clear reason, leaving you barely able to walk? If you're nodding your head right now, I want you to know you're not alone. Gout doesn't just knock on the door, it barges in, often when we least expect it, and it doesn't leave without a fight. Now, if you're over 50, you've probably started to notice how your body reacts differently to certain foods than it used to. Things that never bothered you in your 30s or 40s might now trigger stiffness, swelling, or that unmistakable throbbing pain that screams gout louder than any doctor ever could. It's frustrating, it's confusing, and it can be downright scary. But here's the good news. There's something you can do about it. And it starts with what's on your plate. In this video, we're going to talk about the meats that could be quietly setting you up for your next gout attack, and why cutting back on them might be one of the smartest choices you make for your joints, your energy, and your freedom to move the way you used to. Let's start with something a lot of folks love: red meat. I'm talking about beef, lamb, and pork. Those juicy steaks, sizzling ribs, and thick pork chops that are staples at barbecues and family dinners. They may look harmless, even healthy in moderation, but for someone who's gout-prone, they can be a ticking time bomb. Take the story of Mike, a retired firefighter from Michigan. Mike used to enjoy his grilled ribeye every weekend. "I thought I earned it," he said. "I stayed active, didn't drink much, figured I could handle a steak or two." But by age 61, he was experiencing gout attacks every other month, especially after big family cookouts. His doctor finally sat him down and told him that red meat was high in purines, which break down into uric acid in the body. And too much uric acid. That's what leads to those painful urate crystals building up in your joints. Mike was skeptical at first, but he cut back, swapped out steak nights for roasted chicken, added more veggies, and within 6 months, the attacks stopped. He still treats himself occasionally, but he says, "I learned the hard way, no meat is worth limping around for a week." Now let's talk about another favorite, organ meats. Liver, kidneys, heart, even tongue. These cuts used to be called superfoods for how nutrient-dense they are. But here's the catch. They're also among the highest in purines. That means they send your uric acid levels soaring faster than almost anything else you can eat. Janice from Arizona learned this the hard way. She was 68 and trying to eat more old school for her health, switching to liver and onions a few times a week because her mother always said it was good for you. But within a few weeks, she was in the ER with her first ever gout flare-up. Her toe was swollen like a balloon, and she could barely stand. Her doctor asked what had changed in her diet, and as soon as she mentioned liver, he shook his head. Turns out for people over 50, especially those with any history of joint issues or kidney problems, organ meats can be a big red flag. Janice cut them out and hasn't had a flare-up since. It's not that red meat or organ meats are bad across the board, but they're risky when it comes to gout. The older we get, the more our bodies struggle to filter out excess uric acid efficiently. What once felt fine at 40 might now be the exact thing throwing our system off balance. And here's something else you might not expect: processed meats. Hot dogs, bacon, sausages, deli meats. These are the quiet villains in the gout story. They're not only high in purines, but they're often loaded with sodium, preservatives, and unhealthy fats. That combination can strain your kidneys, lead to dehydration, and further increase the risk of a gout flare. There's a man named Harold, a former truck driver from Texas, who told me once, "I used to live off ham sandwiches and jerky on the road, easy, quick, and cheap, but now I'm paying for it." At 67, he's had to rework his whole lunch routine. He swapped deli meats for fresh-cooked turkey breast, started drinking more water, and even added a few tart cherries to his daily snack list, because yes, they actually help reduce inflammation and lower uric acid. Harold's flare-ups used to be monthly. Now he hasn't had one in almost a year. So far, we've talked about 3 big categories: red meat, organ meat, and processed meat. They might be common, they might even be comforting, but for those of us dealing with gout, they're often the trigger that keeps coming back to bite. Now, that doesn't mean you have to give up meat altogether. What it does mean is becoming more mindful, choosing leaner cuts, watching portion sizes, drinking more water, and balancing your plate with foods that help, like vegetables, whole grains, and anti-inflammatory ingredients. And while we're talking about triggers, there's one more surprising category of meat-related food that many people overlook. It's something often associated with luxury or special occasions, but it can pack a painful punch if you're not careful. That surprise category is seafood. I know. Fresh shrimp, crab legs, lobster. They're the kind of treats many of us look forward to, especially when celebrating holidays or special family gatherings. But here's the tricky part. Many types of seafood are packed with purines, just like red and organ meats. And that means they can raise uric acid levels quickly, increasing the chances of triggering a gout attack. Take Jim, for example, a retired school teacher from Florida. Jim loved his weekend crab feasts, sometimes going all out with crab cakes, shrimp cocktails and buttery lobster tails. For years, it was his favorite way to unwind and enjoy time with his grandchildren. But after turning 60, Jim started noticing that after those seafood dinners, he'd wake up with that familiar sharp pain in his big toe. It would get worse if he overdid it on the crab or shrimp. Jim realized that even though seafood feels lighter than a steak or roast, it can be just as risky for gout if eaten too often or in large amounts. After cutting back to just a few servings a month and making sure to hydrate well, his attack slowed down. He still enjoys seafood, but with a little more caution and balance. Now, if you think all fish are off limits, don't worry. There are differences here. Fish like salmon and tuna have moderate purine levels, and when eaten in reasonable amounts, they're often safer choices. Plus, they bring those heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids that many of us need more of as we age. The key is moderation and listening to your body. Switching gears a little, another important factor that often gets overlooked is how you prepare your meat. Frying or cooking with lots of butter and oil can increase inflammation in the body, which doesn't help gout sufferers at all. Baking, steaming, or grilling lean cuts with herbs and spices is a much better approach. Even simple changes like these can make a noticeable difference in how your joints feel. Then there's the role of hydration. Drinking plenty of water is one of the easiest and most effective ways to help flush uric acid from your system. When you combine cutting back on high purine meats with good hydration, you give your body the tools it needs to keep gout attacks at bay. It's simple but powerful. Now, it's also important to remember that gout isn't just about what you eat, though that plays a huge role. Weight management, regular gentle exercise, and avoiding excessive alcohol, especially beer, are all part of the bigger picture in managing gout effectively. But by far, diet is the place where most people can make quick, impactful changes. Think of it this way. Every meal is a choice that either supports your joints or works against them. When you choose meats that are lower in purines and prepare them in a healthier way, you're helping your body keep those painful flare-ups from taking over your life. One more story I want to share comes from Linda, a vibrant 65-year-old grandmother in Ohio. Linda loved her Sunday dinners with family, which often included sausage and pork roast. When her gout became frequent, she was forced to sit out on many family events because she simply couldn't stand the pain. Instead of giving up those precious moments, Linda decided to take control. She worked with her doctor to create a meal plan that reduced her intake of the risky meats, but still allowed her to enjoy delicious, comforting dishes. She found new favorites in turkey meatballs, baked chicken thighs, and hearty vegetable stews. Her energy improved, the swelling went down, and most importantly, she's back to dancing at family weddings and chasing after her grandkids without fear. It's stories like these that remind us that even after 50, and even if gout has been a constant companion, there's hope. You don't have to feel trapped by your condition. Small, consistent changes to what you eat, especially those meats, can protect your joints and give you back the freedom to live fully. So as you think about your next meal, ask yourself, which meats am I reaching for? And could they be the reason my body is sending me pain signals? Are there leaner, lower purine options I can try instead? Are there ways I can cook that will help reduce inflammation and keep my joints happy? Taking a little time to plan and choose wisely can be your best defense against those nasty gout attacks. Remember, your body is speaking to you, sometimes through pain, sometimes through stiffness, and it's up to us to listen and respond with kindness and care. There's one last type of meat I want to mention, and it's often overlooked because it doesn't get as much attention as steaks or seafood, but it can be just as sneaky when it comes to gout. I'm talking about game meats and wild-caught animals. Think venison, wild boar, pheasant, foods that some folks enjoy as a healthier or more natural alternative to farm-raised meats. But if you're dealing with gout, these meats can be just as rich in purines and might cause those painful flare-ups you're trying so hard to avoid. Take the example of Robert, a 70-year-old outdoorsman from Colorado who loved hunting and cooking his own meals. He was proud of eating clean, wild game, thinking it was better for his health. But after several gout attacks, he discovered his prized venison steaks were actually making his condition worse. By dialing back on the game meats and focusing on lean poultry and plant-based proteins, Robert saw a huge difference. He's still active, hiking the mountains he loves, without being held back by joint pain. This really highlights the importance of being informed, not just about what you eat, but how it affects your body specifically. Each of us is unique, and learning to listen to what your body tells you after certain meals can be one of the most powerful tools you have. Keeping a food diary or noting patterns can help identify your personal triggers, making it easier to avoid those nasty gout attacks. Now I want you to take a moment and imagine a life where gout no longer controls your day-to-day. Picture waking up without that sharp, stabbing pain in your toe or ankle. Think about moving freely, playing with your grandchildren, gardening, walking your dog, or simply enjoying a nice dinner without worrying about what might come next. It's not just a dream, it's achievable. By making mindful choices around the meats you eat, adjusting cooking methods, staying hydrated, and paying attention to your overall lifestyle, you can take charge of your gout and reduce its hold on your life. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. Millions of people over 50 face the challenges of gout every day, but with the right information and small consistent changes, many have found relief and regained their quality of life. If you've struggled with gout, or if you know someone who has, I encourage you to share your experiences in the comments below. Let's support each other by swapping tips, recipes, or even just stories that remind us we're stronger together. Before you go, if you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. We're here to bring you more practical advice, inspiring stories, and tools to help you live your healthiest, happiest life after 50. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Here's to making choices that protect your joints, preserve your freedom, and let you live your best life no matter your age. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.